Hello everyone, welcome back to my Season 8 rewrite, Episode 7, the end is near. Last episode we had our battle between the forces of Winterfell and the forces of Cersei. The battle probably didn't go the way most of us were thinking. Well, still, that being said, it was our battle. A lot of people died. Casualties from on the side of Winterfell, we have Lord Royce and Lady Lyanna who died. We have Jorah who died while shielding Daenerys from several arrows, and we also have Sansa who died at the end in Jon's arms after suffering that blow from Captain Strickland in the beginning. On the other side, Captain Strickland got killed by Jon and Bronn, who were teaming up against him. Bronn turned on the Lannisters. He joined the forces of Winterfell. We got our Clegane Bowl. The Mountain got killed. His head is cut off by the Hound. The Hound survived. That being said, the camp in Winterfell has completely been trashed. So we'll see how this goes right now, because pretty much the war between the war between Cersei and the North is over pretty much by this devastating loss. So we'll see how it is, of course, loss for Cersei. So we'll see how this goes further. So here we are now in episode 7, which I've called Azor Ahai. It will take around 55 minutes. Azor Ahai, we all know what that means, so we'll pretty much now see where this goes. What also I want to quickly mention is throughout the season up until now, there are scenes where we see commoners and people in King's Landing who are pretty much planning a revolt against Cersei because of the poverty, because of the terrible conditions they're in. They all despise her, and they won't, they're not going to buy it for any much longer. So I just wanted to bring that up in case some of you have forgotten. So here we go. Episode 7 starts off in Winterfell. A huge amount of the camp has been destroyed. Several catapults are wrecked, and thousands of dead bodies lie around. A lot of survivors are cleaning up the camp and bring the corpses to the back of the castle where they're burnt. A funeral is held for those who have lost their lives, including Lord Royce, Lyanna, Jorah, and Sansa. Jon speaks a few words as Daenerys gives an emotional farewell to Jorah. All of the bodies are burnt as all of the survivors grieve. Jon goes to Grey Worm, who holds the remaining Lannisters and Golden Company soldiers as prisoners. He gives them a choice: join them in the fight against the dead, or suffer the same fate as the fallen soldiers. They all decide to join Winterfell, but this gets heavy criticism from Arya. She later confronts a Lannister soldier and orders him to tell about Cersei. He tells her that Cersei planned to attack Winterfell all along. Due to this discovery, Tyrion also gets a lot of criticism. He apologizes to Jon and Daenerys, saying that no one could know that this would happen. He is pardoned by both, but not before he is forced to resign as Hand of the Queen. He gives his badge to Daenerys, walks away, and starts to cry. In King's Landing, a Lannister soldier arrives back from Winterfell and informs Cersei that the battle was lost. She is shocked and collapses on the ground when she hears that both Strickland and the Mountain have been killed. In the capital, we see how poverty and famine are reaching a breaking point. Thousands of people are gathering as several speakers demand for justice. They all start marching on the Red Keep as a sign for revolution. In the dungeons, Jaime is visited by the same Lannister soldier who asks him what he's doing there. Jaime explains that he tried to convince Cersei to fight for Winterfell, but since she didn't, he left her to go to Winterfell alone, but he was captured and brought back. After hearing this, the soldier frees Jaime. In Winterfell, Theon is healing from his wounds and practices with bow and arrow. He is visited by Gendry and they have a chat. Bronn and Tyrion walk on the castle walls and catch up. Bronn talks about how Cersei has gone mad with power and has imprisoned Jaime. Meanwhile, Varys sends one of his little birds off to King's Landing to find out more information. Jon is visited by Sam at night, who asks him to go with him to Bran in the Godswood. When arriving there, Sam leaves the two of them alone. Bran explains to Jon that the visions he keeps on having mean something, and it has to do with how to defeat the Night King. He explains to Jon that he keeps seeing a warrior forged from both snow and flames, with a huge flaming sword. He believes that this man represents Jon, as Jon is a child from both a Stark and a Targaryen, a child from ice and fire, just like the warrior in his visions is one made from ice and fire. He is the one that is destined to kill the Night King. Jon is overwhelmed by this, as he can't believe an ordinary man like himself can possibly kill something like the Night King. Bran responds by saying that he isn't an ordinary man. This becomes a little bit too much for Jon, and he leaves. He sees Daenerys with Drogon and Rhaegal in the distance. Suddenly, he hears the words of Melisandre again in his mind. The same words she was saying right before she dies. He starts hearing the words more intense, and he slowly walks outside the castle walls. Several people such as Davos, Tyrion, Varys, Bronn and Grey Worm see this, and they all gather at the castle walls, asking themselves what he's doing. Bran sees Jon doing this in his mind, and he says to himself that it has always been his destiny. A small snowstorm starts to occur around Jon as he grabs his sword. Suddenly Jon starts to say the words of Melisandre out loud as he raises his sword high in the air. In all its might, the sword ignites with fire. Everyone at the castle walls watches in awe as Bran tells Sam that Jon has accepted his destiny. King's Landing. The citizens arrive at the Red Keep. The soldiers sound the alarm and form a line of defense in front of the castle gates. Cersei is informed by Qyburn that a revolution is taking place. Jaime and the soldier run through the castle, but see that their escape is blocked by all of the civilians. Suddenly, the soldier tells Jaime to escape alone, and he goes back to the stairs. Jaime is confused, but heads to the exit at Blackwater Bay. Cersei commands all of her remaining troops to guard the Red Keep from the intruders. The civilians, however, manage to break through the gate, and a fight between the Lannister guards and the civilians starts in the courtyard of the keep. The guards are extremely outnumbered. Qyburn advises Cersei to take shelter, but Cersei refuses to believe that any of this is actually happening. Jaime makes it to the exit at Blackwater Bay, but before he jumps on a lifeboat and heads out, he stops and he goes back into the castle. Jaime goes to the throne room, but finds Euron on the Iron Throne. Euron calls himself a king, but Jaime won't have any part in it. After they have a brief conversation, they both draw swords and start a fight. The civilians enter the Red Keep, as the Lannister guards struggle to beat them back. Qyburn takes Cersei to his room, but on their way, they get attacked by the civilians. Qyburn tells Cersei to run away as he gets attacked and killed by the civilians. Cersei runs to her balcony where several other Lannister soldiers have gathered. They see how still thousands are swarming the keep. In her madness, she orders the officers to ignite the wildfire and kill them all. They all refuse, but Cersei keeps on ordering to kill all of the traitors. Then, one of the Lannister soldiers, who is the same one who helped Jaime escape, takes his sword and shoves it in Cersei's back. The other soldiers present, they all draw their swords, and as Cersei slowly falls on the ground, the Lannister soldier kills all of the other ones. Cersei tries to crawl back up, as the soldier looks down on her, pulls his face off, and reveals to be Arya. She says a couple of words to Cersei before running away and leaving Cersei to die alone. Jaime and Euron still fight in the throne room, as the civilians alongside the Lannister guards also enter while fighting. Eventually, Jaime slams Euron's throat with his hand and pierces his sword through his face, killing Euron. As a fight ensues, Jaime runs to Cersei's room, where he finds her on the balcony next to the other dead Lannisters. Cersei tries to get up slowly, but as Jaime tries to help her, she starts to say that they should burn King's Landing with a wildfire. She says that all the traitors must die. Jaime starts to cry as he holds Cersei tight, but slowly starts to choke her with his hands. Cersei is too wounded to resist, and she eventually gets choked to death. As Cersei lies dead on the ground, Jaime sits next to her and starts to cry, while the fighting in the Red Keep ensues. Alright, that was episode 7, Azor Ahai. Again, a very big and important episode. This episode actually closes down the chapter of the Lannisters, pretty much. What happened? Well, two major things. It starts off, everyone is recovering from the unexpected battle of previous episodes. A funeral is held. The remaining Lannister and soldiers and Goblin Company soldiers have turned all to the Winterfell. They've joined their fights. That being said, Arya, there was, as I said, a short scene where Arya talks to a Lannister soldier and pretty much forces him to explain what happened, how this could have happened. And what happened, because I can imagine some of you are wondering how the hell did Arya suddenly just, become a Lannister soldier and made it all the way to King's Landing and kill Cersei and free Jaime and everything. Well, the thing is, actually what happened is that Arya, behind the scenes, killed that Lannister soldier she was interrogating. She cut off his face. She put on the face of the Lannister soldier. She took on the clothes. She jumped on a horse and just pretty much went all the way to King's Landing, destined for revenge. And that's where everything happens. Because maybe it wasn't that clear, but at least a month goes by in this episode. But it's all very vague to make, the twist at the end. So when the Lannister Guard is actually revealed to be Arya, just to make that twist a little bit more impactful. That being said, Jaime is freed, and again, a huge fight. The civilians of King's Landing have had enough. A huge revolt, a revolution actually has taken place. The civilians have all stormed the Red Keep. With the Lannister army pretty much being entirely destroyed of the last battle, there were way too few soldiers left to defend the Red Keep. So the Red Keep got overrun by the civilians. Qyburn got killed by the civilians. A fight between Jaime and Euron occurred in the throne room. Jaime killed Euron. Cersei got killed by Arya, but then later on Jaime has this little final moment, but he actually is forced to kill her because he knows how mad Cersei really is, and that's where the episode ends. He chokes Cersei to death while all the chaos in the Red Keep is still going on. So that pretty much closes down the entire storyline of the Lannisters. The storyline of the Lannisters in King's Landing and everything. So the conflict between the Lannisters and the North has officially come to a close. The other very important thing is Jon actually becoming Azor Ahai in this episode, hence the title of the episode. Jon has finally, given into his destiny. It's meant to be a very epic scene where Jon starts to saying the words of Melisandre and he holds his sword up high and it suddenly ignites with fire. Just imagine the epic music of Ramin Djawadi during that scene, and you'll get my point. So that was also very important. I think that is pretty much all that has happened during this episode. Guys, thank you very much for watching my video once again. Stay tuned for episode 8, and I'll see you guys next time.